Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Homewrecker Podcast. I am the grumpy Greek, Alex Arion,
The grumpy Greek is back.
joined as always. I was just about to say joined as always for my beautiful wife, but by my beautiful wife, the beautiful, lovely, gorgeous.
Confused looking.
Yeah, I'm all confused now. Wow.
Yeah, you confused me for a moment there. I'm like, what?
This is what happens when I try to change it up a little bit. All right. Anyway,
It's okay.
joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, the lovely Monique.
Hi.
Hi. How's that? A little better?
A little better.
All right. I'm not going to edit that either. I'm just going to leave that in. See, I mess up all the time.
We are human.
Damn it.
We make mistakes. We make plenty
Yes.
of them.
Oh, every day.
I'm sure we make enough for
Multiple.
others.
Probably.
But it's okay.
That's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, we learn from it
Sure.
sometimes,
So, yeah.
except when it comes to introductions
Right.
and closing the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, do you want to get plugs and stuff out of the way now, and then we'll get into the show?
Sure. Yes.
We've been kind of doing that lately, so why don't you go ahead and plug your social media and where people can find you and your various offerings?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at _Monique Giselle _ and that's 1L with Giselle. And I have a website, tarotbymonique.com, and you can buy Organite there. You can get tarot oracle readings. You can get my homemade candles made with beeswax. I make incense. I do lots of awesome things. You can buy it there. You can also go to my Etsy shop, Wonders by Monique, but I'm trying to get everyone to go to the website. I now take credit cards and PayPal, so we got that going. And I have a website coming for my hypnotherapy business, and that will be ready in August.
Beautiful.
Yes. How about you? How can people find you?
There's Twitter at the Alex Arion and alexarionfitness.com. And yeah, you find me on Twitter. I'm barely ever on there anymore, but once in a while I'll be lurking on there.
There you go.
And where can people find us on social media, podcast wise?
At Homewrecker Pod.
And we also have a website,
homewreckerpodcast.com.
And of course, anywhere you're listening to podcasts, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button.
Yes.
And
like,
follow.
If it gives you an option.
Share.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
And find us on YouTube and Brighteon. I stopped doing Odyssey.
Okay.
Yeah, so like nobody was really viewing on there. So I was like, I'm not going to waste my time.
Fair enough.
Yep. So YouTube and Brighteon. So
there you go.
Subscribe, follow, like.
Back to the original.
Back to the basics.
The original two
that
we were doing. Cool. All right.
We have backup options if we need them.
Yeah.
Right now, just keeping it simple.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
before we talk about our topic,
with the plugs out of the way.
Yeah.
Is there anything else going on with you that you want to share?
I'm trying to think. Well, I have stuff, but I don't want to talk about it yet. So I'll hold off.
Cool.
And you? Is there anything you want to discuss?
There's a lot of things I want to discuss.
Oh, do tell.
There's a lot of things.
Oh, go on.
Unfortunately, they get me kicked off, or they get us kicked off of every platform, and you never hear from us again.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff I'd like to say. I'd like to talk about. And actually, believe it or not, probably not what most people would think, because it's not what everybody else talks about. Those are not the kind of things I want to discuss, but maybe you and I will have a discussion off there sometime about some of these things.
Why don't we just talk about it and record it and maybe just release it as like a bonus episode,
a bonus hidden episode,
private bonus hidden episode.
There will be no show notes associated with it. Just here's an episode. If you like it, great. If not, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the stuff that peeves me off.
That grinds your gears.
Really, yeah, it gets me going, makes me grumpy, makes me the grumpy Greek.
Oh, and we don't like
Mm.
when the Greek is grumpy.
No, it's no fun. So especially, it's not fun for me. I don't like being grumpy.
No, and it's not fun for me either.
I try not to be that.
Well, actually,
grumpy.
sometimes it is fun for me because I just laugh at you.
You tend to just kind of
I'm like, what's your problem?
you tend to get me back in a good mood pretty quick, thankfully. So that's
I
a good
put you
thing.
back in your place.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I'm gonna fluff your aura.
well, yeah, but that's just it. Like, just some stuff, and I actually kind of I get a little disappointed in myself that I allow it to bother me as much as I do sometimes. But what are you gonna do? So, no. Aside from me wanting to talk about a million things that now unfortunately would get me in some kind of trouble, and I'm kind of rolling my eyes as I say that, because really, what are people going to do? Say, oh, you suck, going to get canceled, blah blah blah. I mean,
I guess
whatever.
the
And that
question
stuff,
is though.
that stuff doesn't bother me. No, sorry, not to cut you off. It's not that I'm not afraid of being canceled or any of that nonsense. I don't care, because just as well as I do, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I really don't.
Yeah.
If you like me, that's awesome. If you don't like me, that's awesome too. I've never lived my life for other people's approval, ever. But it's just the fact that if I were to say something now that someone somewhere, for whatever reason, at 5:30 on a Friday decides is not okay, it eliminates our entire platform. And that's what bothers me. Kind of like how we got shadow banned. Our episode got a banned last week for we don't know what reason. We were never given any reason.
Like, we did some editing, and like 24 hours later, it came back.
Right.
So it must have been something we typed in the algorithms.
Yeah, but just those type of things.
I don't know. I look at it like, who cares? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And my question is though, the things you want to talk about, it sounds like you want to vent, but is it really worth your time venting, or is it just better to put your energy in something more positive and move forward?
I suppose that'd be probably the more constructive thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like, I'm a venter. I need to vent. I need to get it out, and then I can move on.
Yeah.
But
it's just, I tell you, it's that kind of stuff that really, as you said, grinds my gears.
Yeah. But maybe
it's the whole, you are no longer now in our society, if that's what you want to call it. You're no longer allowed to have free speech and free expression about anything. And to me, that's very troubling. That's all.
You say that, but I look at it like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And whatever happens, happens. Nobody can take it away from you.
On an online platform.
Then you find another way to get the word out.
That's all.
I get it. I just feel like, do what you're going to do if you have to keep making account after account. But I don't know. Just don't live in fear, because it's like, people can tell you what you can and can't do. And it's on you to say like, no, that's wrong. Fuck you, and do your thing. Like, there's things like, don't murder people. Okay, that's a pretty good rule. But like, don't speak your mind because somebody might get upset by what you think or what you have to say because it's different. No, that's stupid. I'm going to say what I want.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're saying hateful things. It's just alternative thinking, so to say. But I don't know. Don't let it stop you. Remember.
Nope, I'm not letting anything stop me.
I know, but I'm telling
I'm not.
And like our hearers and watchers, like, do your thing. If you're being a good person and you're not hurting anyone and you're speaking your mind, just speak your mind. And if they silence you, if they shut you down, just keep coming back. That's all.
There you have it.
Don't give up.
There you have it. And that's like I said before, when I said that, and my voice is starting to go on me again. Always as I start to talk on this podcast, what is going on?
A little emotional, a little flipped. Remember not the church lady, Michael Myers on Saturday Night Live with Linda. Was it Linda Cushman? Coffee Talk.
No idea.
Linda something. But Saturday Night Live, Mike Myers.
I don't remember ever watching that time.
Oh, I always watched it when I was younger.
No, I wasn't getting emotional at all. It was my voice.
No, I was just messing with you. I was having some fun.
Fair enough. I mean, if you want, I could try to turn on some tears. They wouldn't be genuine though. But no, when I was saying that I a little disappointed that I allow these things to still get to me. I mean that because, and I said that because I have, as you know, been trying to be more spiritual and more, trying to let those kind of things go and not let them, take my energy. It was difficult because I viewed what happened a couple of weeks ago as, even though it wasn't like a personal attack, that's kind of how I took it, as a personal thing. Like, you're gonna mess with our show, like with my show, like what I didn't say
You
anything.
took it
Like
personal.
I did almost, that's what I'm saying. I feel like I took it almost personally. Like, how fucking
I
dare
was
you? Do you
like,
know what the fuck who you're talking
do you
to?
know who the
Do you know
fuck
who the
I
fuck I
am?
am? Like I'm anybody, but that's kind of how I took it. Like,
See, I was like,
who are you messing with?
oh, challenge accepted. Come on, let's play.
But but you know what I mean. Like we obviously we put a lot of effort into the show. We put in a lot of time and everything
Yeah.
into doing everything and getting it out there. And so I just took it as a, how fucking dare you fuck with me?
See, I
Like,
look at
how
it like
dare you?
everything happens for a
So
reason. It is what it is. And sometimes, as frustrating as it is and sucky as it is, you just got to keep moving forward and not allow it to frustrate you, because then that wins. That
yeah,
negative energy
no,
wins.
and that is, and that's why I said I'm a little disappointed in myself that I did that, but I think it's okay to express that
Oh, yeah.
because
You're frustrated.
yeah, I'm just frustrated, still a little frustrated about it, but definitely, and it's been what, 2 weeks now, and I'm still like, ugh, when I think about it, but definitely getting better and trying to just kind of let it go, let it
Let it
be.
go. Let it
So
go.
anyway,
Let
enough
it
about that.
go.
I don't even know how we got on this tangent now. I've completely forgotten.
What do you want to talk about? I asked.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess that was kind of it, I suppose.
So today we're going to talk about missing 411.
But anyway, moving on.
First, before we talk about that, we forgot to mention this after it happened.
Well, this actually fits in perfectly with missing 411. This
yeah,
instance,
you could say
it could
that.
tie in, possibly.
It could maybe. Something weird happened at our house.
Yes.
And so
I don't know if it was, would you say it was at our house or outside of our house?
It was outside of our house. I went outside to go check the mail. Or did I? No. I was inside. I felt it and I heard it.
We were both inside.
Yes.
We had our front door open.
And we were in the
was up.
living room. Yeah, we had the screen.
We had the screen door open and everything. And you could hear all of a sudden, oh, you go ahead and
I felt this super low vibration. It was a wicked low vibrational energy, and it was really dense. And it was like, I felt it. And you could hear like this weird sound. And how would you describe it?
Okay, so I didn't feel anything, but it sounded, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. This is awful now because anybody listens like, just fucking spit it out, guy. But it was almost like everything, like, we don't live near a highway, but if you've ever been
like a
walked,
couple miles down, maybe.
It's like, yeah, 2 miles down the road is a highway, but we don't live like right by a highway or anything. We actually have nothing, but we have a cemetery across the street from our house.
And there are woods.
It's like probably about a half acre of woods, and then it turns into a cemetery. So there's no houses, there's no yards, nothing like that right in front of us. And we just trees. And we just have houses on either side of us and a house behind us. But it was it almost sounded like all the birds went silent. There was no birds, and there's
fireworks or gunshots. Wow, we don't know.
That was really, I don't know if that get picked up on the mic or not, but that was loud. There's always birds chirping, and you can always hear, nature and stuff, like, because we said lots of trees. And especially this year, for whatever, it seems like the birds have been like tons of birds, but there was no sounds of birds. All of a sudden, it just got really quiet. And then it sounded almost like you could hear cars like driving. And so it sounded like it was, I don't know how to describe it. At first,
I'm like, is that a plane flying overhead? But it didn't quite sound like a plane, but it was almost like in an echo chamber, sort of.
That's
it was
a good
like
way of
really, it was weird because it's like, I think that gunshots.
Sound like
That
guns.
sounded like a gunshot. Okay, so this is what happens when you live in the city. We play the game more frequently. Gunshots or fireworks. Those sounded more like gunshots. Anyway, so it's like it was like this weird sound. Yeah, almost like an echo chamber, but it was like all of a sudden, like you have this weird echoey kind of sound.
It almost sounded
but like as if the highway was right like on our street.
Right. It almost sounded like traffic sounds were how can I say this? Almost like the traffic was being microphoned and the speaker was pointed right at us.
Like right at us. But it was almost like
weird.
It was weird because it was like that was super loud and clear, but everything else was really silent. Like it was silent, but like it was like a almost like
there was no other ambient
maybe like
or
vacuum chamber. Is that what I'm trying to think of? Like a vacuum chamber.
Yeah, it's hard.
It was weird, but
hard to
also,
explain it.
and I'm out there and I'm like, something does not feel right.
That I did. I felt like something was off, but I can't. I'm not like you where I can feel like energies and stuff like that. But it just felt off, and it just felt really weird out there. And it was almost like, yeah, like we were in like a vacuum or something, and all outside sound except for
the highway,
which, like I said, is miles down the road, was like really loud. And it was like,
it was so weird. And I'm
how
like,
would that happen?
Why is that the only thing I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And like there was nothing else. And like no cars went by.
Yeah,
it was
no cars
so
were going
weird. Like I'm
nothing.
out on my porch and I just remember feeling like this isn't right. Something is off, something is wrong. And I'm like, is there like some weird jet flying overhead? Because we have an airport nearby. And I'm like, and we have like a military airport in New Hampshire. And I'm like, are they doing some kind of experiment or something with jets? But I'm looking, I don't see anything in the sky.
Yeah, it was nothing.
It was so bizarre. It was crazy.
So yeah, I mean, it lasted for like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, it was a few minutes. It felt really long. I'd say 5 minutes the most, but probably like 3 minutes.
It's probably 3, yeah, 3 at the most, I'd say.
But like from the moment we picked up on it, went outside checking out, yeah, about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It
was like it was concerning enough, and everything.
It's very loud.
Sorry about the pause, but yeah, I can't tell if that's a gun or fireworks, but it's really, anyway, sorry.
The universe doesn't want us sharing the story.
Yeah, something. Yeah, right. But it was everything. Like we made, like, our little ones wanted to come outside with us on the front porch.
I was like,
no, go inside. Go inside. Because we didn't know what was going on. And it just felt off.
And it was weird because like I felt it in the house, but then once I went outside, it was even more so. Because I have lots of shungite in the house. I have my orgonite. I have like all this stuff. And going outside, it was more intense, but that's when it really started feeling like something's wrong. So it was weird. It was bizarre. It wasn't scary. It was like maybe kind of creepy.
It just felt like weird.
Yeah. It felt really, really weird. And that, like, I was like looking things up, like, anyone else experience this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, after that ended, the amplified sounds of highway noise, I guess is the best way to describe it. After that went away, all of a sudden, all the birds, you could hear everything again.
It stopped and the vibration stopped. That energy stopped weird. And then back to normal, like boom.
It was very strange.
Birds started chirping. All of a sudden you hear like normal sounds, the wind blowing. Because like with trees, the wind blows and it was like nothing.
Yeah. It was really strange. Yeah. So that happened, what would you say? It was about a month ago?
Yeah, about a month ago.
And yeah, it's something we kept meaning to mention, just kept forgetting.
And we just forgot.
But yeah, we talked about it earlier this week. I was like, we got to mention that because that was weird. We should probably get that out there just in case somebody else has
happened to anybody else.
Anything sort of kind of like this.
Yeah, it was weird.
Very strange.
Yeah.
But it also kind of ties into, like you said, we're talking about missing 411 today. And yeah, as you're holding up the book, we're going to be doing cases from a sobering coincidence.
Yes, missing 411.
And again, it's David Paulides is the author. And we've done several shows on missing 411 with missing 411 cases in the past. And they always seem to be pretty well received. This is a topic that I guess it's gathered a lot of attention for sure. And as we've said in the past, like I've been following it for years, and I remember when I first mentioned it to you, you were perplexed by it and fascinated by it as well.
Yeah, because we want to figure it out. What's
Yeah, it's
going
one of
on
those things like, what the
here?
hell is happening? Yeah,
Like, you don't want it to happen to you. You don't want
right. Of
it to
course.
happen to somebody you care about. You don't want it to happen to anybody. And it's one of those things where it's like, we all got to work together and figure this out. Now, this book we're going to go over, Sobering Coincidence, this one focuses a lot on like college students, people who maybe have been drinking, but yet some of these things are very bizarre. They follow that missing 411 pattern, which
Is what? Do you remember some of the things? We'll
yes.
mention for anybody that maybe is not familiar.
Mhm.
Real quick, we'll just run down a couple of things that will qualify a case to fall into a missing 411 distinction, categorization,
Yeah.
if you will.
So one thing is there's often a weather event that happens right after the person disappears, which can make it very difficult to go search for them after. It could be a snowstorm. It could be like lots of rain, like really like bad weather happens.
Yeah, it makes it difficult to track the person down if search and rescue teams are bringing in dogs or even just people and trying to track. Makes it very difficult. So,
and speaking of dogs, a lot of times they'll have canines search an area, and they'll have like people do like whole grids searching, and there's nothing. And then that is where the person turns up, somewhere that's already been searched at least once or many times and searched with canines.
Yeah. Which is definitely interesting.
Near water.
Near water, a lot of times somebody will go missing near water or be found near a water, usually a stream or lake.
Yeah, pond, river, swamp.
Yes. Water.
Yeah. Usually like sometimes like in a lot of cases where they're found, it doesn't make any sense. For example, people are found like uphill instead of downhill. They're found in really difficult places, like in trees. How did they get up there? It doesn't really make any sense how they got there. There's stories of like kids who go missing, and you think the easiest way is going down a mountain, and they're like going up it.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's more difficult.
Small children being found miles away, like miles and miles away.
Missing clothes. Articles of clothes missing. And
especially in like colder temperatures, almost as if the person is disrobing. Why would they be disrobing if it's so cold out? Is it because there's a million different theories. Is it because they're just hysterical? They've who knows? Yeah. So it's very, very strange. And also another thing, a lot of, not always, but sometimes there'll be handicapped or disabled people that will be, I guess not targeted, but maybe you could say targeted, because if there's a lot of the young children are maybe unable to speak when they're abducted, because sometimes they are found and they cannot explain what happened to them.
And that's something just in general. Sometimes people can't, they don't know. They can't explain it, or they don't remember.
Yeah. But I say sometimes disabled or handicapped, but then you have experienced hunters that go missing. You have, young college age people that go missing. You have doctors, experienced hikers. You have all kinds of backgrounds. And it's just really strange that they go missing, and they're oftentimes never found again. And when they are, it may be a long time later, and as Monique already mentioned, in a spot that was previously searched several times.
And speaking of the spots too, there's often clusters of areas where people go missing. Yes. It's usually like there's a map that David Paulides has put out showing these clustered areas throughout the US. Yeah. Just pinpointing like so many people in this area have gone missing. Like, is it a coincidence? And there are going to be people who will hear these stories and read these stories and say, people go missing, things happen. There's nothing outside the norm. It's all can be accounted for. It's just people don't want to put two and two together or whatever. But I don't know. It's just David Paulides has done such a magnificent job with all the work he's
Yeah,
done.
just compiling all these different
Yeah,
cases.
getting all
Yeah.
this information.
Yep.
So we're going to go over a few stories in this book, and there's stories from New England as well. So I wanted to touch on some of those. But the
Sure.
first one is from Indiana.
Indiana.
And this is regarding Chad Sharon, missing February 12th, 2002.
Oh, this is, you gonna just do him or because
No,
there's
I'm just picking him. I'm just picking
I
some
see.
people from certain states.
Okay.
Yep. He's from what?
Sorry, I'm looking here and I'm seeing there's the 4 names.
Yeah.
So did they all go missing? Oh, I see. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna allow you to go ahead. Anyway, Chad, Sharon.
Gonna let me finish now?
Yeah, I'll be quiet.
Chad Sharon went missing February 12th, 2002. 2/12/2002. And just
A lot of twos there.
Yeah. From South Bend, Indiana. Age of disappearance, 18 years old. David Paulides wrote, coming from a small city to the big time campus world of Notre Dame may be a shock to some kids. Now, Notre Dame, is that like the Notre Dame? Is that where it is in Indiana? Like where Rudy Notre Dame?
Could be.
I never watched Rudy. I don't know.
You never seen Rudy? Oh,
No,
we've gone
we've
over
gone
this.
over this.
Yeah, I know. And well, we're gonna have to change that.
I'll only do it because Vince Vaughn and John Favreau are in it.
Al Snow's in that too.
Okay.
And Dan Severn.
Moving on.
Anyway, sorry.
Chad Sharon would have been the student who would manage the change and excel in grades.
Would you like me to read?
Oh, I missed a word. Chad Sharon would have been the student who could manage the change and excel in grades. He was raised in Merrill and later moved to Pelican Lake, Wisconsin. He was president of the student council and a National Honor Society president with perfect grades through school. His family lived on the lake, and Chad was a good swimmer. His attention to school and grades earned him a full academic scholarship to Notre Dame University in South Bend, Indiana, with a major in electrical engineering. He was the only child to Steve and Jane Sharon and regularly contacted his parents while at school. The last communications the Sharons had with Chad was on December 11th, 2012. December 11th is my birthday.
It is.
When he sent an instant message that he was doing well, nearing the end of his semester and looking forward to the break. He told them that he had purchased sweatshirts for their Christmas present. On the night of December 11th, 2012, Chad was invited by dormitory friends to attend an off-campus party at 520 Corby Boulevard. Chad rode with his friends to the event and was having a good time. He was drinking alcohol, but did not appear intoxicated. His buddies told him that they were going to leave at some point. Chad stated he knew the way back to school. It was 5 blocks, and that he'd walk back. Witnesses reiterated that Chad was having fun and socializing, but he was not drunk. It would appear that Chad left the party at approximately 3 to 3:30 a.m. At 4 a.m., he spoke briefly with a security guard at the Madison Center for Children at 701 North Niles Avenue in South Bend. This location sits adjacent to the St. Joseph River with a raised paved walking path separating the building from the water. The guard said that Chad asked for directions to the nearest convenience store. He was directed to a 7-Eleven 6 blocks away at 501 East LaSalle Ave, away from the water. This was the last time that Chad was seen alive. When Chad didn't arrive at his 3rd floor Fisher Hall dormitory room, friends became concerned. He was formally reported.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, reported as missing on December 13th. The Notre Dame campus security and South Bend police worked together investigating the disappearance. Steve and Jane Sharon came to South Bend and met and questioned Chad's friends at his dormitory and worked with police answering questions about their son's demeanor. A January 16th, 2003 article in the Notre Dame News had several important statements made by the parents. Jane Sharon stated that the disappearance was, quote, to quote, unquote, totally out of character. Later in the same article, to quote, Chad is a generally cautious person who is not a risk taker, according to his father, end quote. Also in the article is this, quote, Chad is unlikely to have taken a walk in a wooded area or near a river at 4 a.m, Steve Sharon said. The family lives on a lake and Chad is a competent swimmer, according to his parents. The police used dogs to search the campus and river area. There was no scent discovered that led to the discovery of the body. The search was ongoing and extensive. There was very little information of investigatory importance for almost 2 months. On February 12th, 2003, a full 2 months after Chad had disappeared, a worker for a concrete removal company was examining the Angela Bridge in South Bend when he observed what he thought was a body in the St. Joseph River. This location is approximately 1 mile north from where Chad was last seen. The body was removed and determined to be Chad. Police found his wallet still in his pants a full 2 months after he had been reported missing. The body went to the medical examiner where it was determined that Chad drowned accidentally and had a blood alcohol level of 0.22%. So 0.22, that's high.
Right?
Yeah, because 0.08 here in New Hampshire is the limit.
Okay. I was
So
to say
that's-
0.22. That seems really high.
That's yeah.
So for somebody that everybody reported was not drunk,
That's like almost triple.
when you said that, my initial thought was, yeah, but how would they know if he's drunk or not?
True.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like his buddies gave him a breathalyzer or something or made him do a sobriety
also,
test.
when you're surrounded by drunk people, how are you competent enough? Like, how is a drunk person competent enough to know?
Right. And that's the other part of it too. Like, if you're in a party full of other people that are drinking, how are they going to tell if you're, how can they be reliable eyewitnesses, I guess, to that? But anyhow,
it was never determined how Chad entered the water, why he went near the water, or how he got directions to the 7-Eleven so confused that he went in the opposite direction. I have written many stories about highly intellectual students and professionals who have disappeared and were later located under very unusual circumstances. Many of these individuals were found in or near water. Notre Dame campus and Fisher Hall held several assemblies and prayer sessions for Chad and his family. So let's talk about this case a little bit because it's interesting. But yeah, it's near water, but he could have just been so drunk. So I'm going to share a story.
You're going to share a different story other than this one?
To prove a point with this.
Okay.
I'm going to share a personal story.
You don't want to dissect the story first?
Okay. I'm going to, but I want to share this story. Go ahead. I went to a party in Boston.
Okay.
I followed somebody to get there. I didn't know where I was. So I was drinking. I fell asleep for a couple hours. I got up and I was like, the sun is up. I want to get out of here. So I leave. I kind of had an idea. I was, where was I?
How old are you?
21, maybe.
All right.
Maybe 18. I don't know. I was in Boston. I'm trying to think, over by Harvard Square area. But it was down the street and then down another street. So I thought I felt fine. And I must have stopped at 4 different gas stations asking for directions. And I could not remember. I was like, I don't know where the hell I'm going. I was going all the back roads to try to go home. Now, this was before we had GPS. I didn't have a map on me. So I was stopping at gas stations asking for directions.
I remember those days.
By the time I finally found the highway and got home, I got home and get out of my car. I was like, oh shit, I'm still drunk. Now, they question, how can somebody get so lost and turned around? If you're drunk, it's possible. Now, I was very lucky that I was okay. I didn't cause any accidents.
Yes.
But my brain could not, I literally, I remembered asking a guy and just remember being confused. I heard him, and it seems like it makes sense, but I just don't get it. And I'm confused. Like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. And then I'm like, I'm confused. What did he say? So yes, I think it is possible to, if you are drunk, to get directions from somebody and go the opposite way because you're drunk and your mind isn't working right.
I'll buy that.
Okay.
Well, but that uh, to build off of that point is what I was going to say was, how is this really a story? Because if this gentleman was found to have a 0.22 blood alcohol level, and actually, let me sidetrack for a minute, but I'll come back to this. He was found 2 months after he went disappearing, right? And he was found in the body of water, correct?
Yes.
That wouldn't mess with the autopsy results. That wouldn't. I mean, I'm obviously not a forensic pathologist or anything like that. I don't know these things, but this is what I was wondering. If he's in the water, is the 0.22, is that an accurate reading of what his blood alcohol is? Wouldn't that be diluted by being in the water? And if that's the case, if it was diluted by being in the water, would that mean that it was even higher than 0.22 initially? He was even drunker?
I don't know. Well, I don't know if the water would dilute blood alcohol unless like the water is getting in the bloodstream.
2 months of decomposition.
But he was 2 months. Well, no, because it was in cold water. The river's cold.
Okay, no, you're right.
So that's kind of preserving everything. The weird thing is that his wallet was still in his pants. Now you think about the way the current of the river moves. You think that stuff would come out eventually.
Yeah.
Like the clothes might stay on, but anything in pockets would come out.
Yeah.
So that's weird. Unless it was like a back pocket that was buttoned, that would make sense, but they don't say that.
I'm very curious if because this disappearance, this story falls right in line with the MO for the smiley face killers.
Oh, interesting.
College age male, drunk by himself, goes missing, is found in a body of water, doesn't look like a robbery, it just looks like an accidental drowning. But somewhere nearby is a smiley face, either painted on a tree, on a wall, or something. There's something nearby that has a smiley face. So I'd be curious to see if maybe that's a detail that was missed.
Yeah.
Because it was maybe just something that nobody thought meant anything.
Oh yeah, possibly.
He disappeared in what year again?
2002.
2002. So I'd have to go back and look and see when the smiley face killers thing kind of became when it kind of became a thing, when it kind of became known and picked up on. So I wonder if that's maybe that could be something like that falls
possibly
under that.
Now the other thing that's interesting is sometimes in these stories they'll say something like, based off the autopsy, how long they were in the water. I know because the water's so cold that might make it hard to determine, but it's like, was he in that water the whole time? But there's not a lot of information there. So this is a very interesting story only because the wallet was still in, but I also looked at it like, well, it's very possible that he was just really drunk.
That could be. Yeah. It could very well be. I mean, yeah, I was gonna start getting into some smiley face stuff, but no, that's a different show.
Why don't we do that on another episode? Because I want to do that too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, do you want to do the next one, or do you want me to read?
Sure.
Okay.
Who we talking about now?
We're gonna do a New Hampshire one.
Ooh, the home state.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna talk about a young man by the name of Paul Steverman who went missing in Henniker, New Hampshire. He was 20 years old. And this happened back on November 19th, 1995 at around 1 a.m.
And we live in New Hampshire. Henniker is like northwest, I believe, from us.
About 45 minutes from where we are. Paul Steverman was a hockey player, something I know a little bit about. This is the author speaking. As a longtime hockey supporter and certified level 5 USA hockey coach who has worked with men and women and who had a son play 4 years of Division I hockey, I can attest that I know these men. If you wish to play college hockey, the majority of young men needs to play an extra year or two after high school to develop their skills and physique. Paul was the captain of his Scituate High School hockey team and then spent another year at Tilton Academy, where he graduated in 1995. It would be safe to say that hockey was a huge part of this young man's life. as he started playing in the Seahawks Hockey Club at 8 years old. Even though his formal name was Paul, friends and family called him PJ. PJ searched for a college where he could play his sport and get an advanced education. He picked New England College in Henniker, New Hampshire. He wasn't given a position on the team, but he competed and made the team. New England College is a private liberal arts school, with approximately 2,000 students. The school offers associate, bachelor, master, and doctoral degrees. It was established in 1946 with the original intention of serving the needs of servicemen and women who wanted to attend college utilizing the GI Bill. The school is located in Henniker, New Hampshire, approximately 17 miles west of Concord. The location is very rural. Yes, it is. Henniker is very rural.
Yes.
On November 18th, 1995, Paul went to an off-campus party at a house a few miles from the school. There was a keg of beer and kids were drinking. Holy crap, that happens at college parties? Wow, I didn't know that. Back on target here. There are various reports that differ on how much Paul had to drink. A December 2nd, 1995 article in the Tuscaloosa News stated this, quote, after spilling beer on another student with whom he exchanged words, Steverman walked out of the house and into the woods, end quote. All right, so he got in a fight, altercation of some kind. Other articles state that it was snowing hard when Paul walked into the forest. Stories differ on the date. Some say it was November 19, others say it was the 20th. You're stopping me.
So drunk people had a hard time recollecting information at an event.
Interesting. Okay, well.
Just recapping that.
Fair enough. Nobody knows what happened when Paul left the party. He didn't arrive back in his room and he was reported missing on Monday. The campus security police and the local municipal police started a search that lasted for 5 days. Bad weather moved into the area and stopped searchers. There was a swamp about 2 acres in size, approximately a quarter mile from the house party, and searchers scoured every inch of it for multiple days. The woods surrounding the house and the swamp were also searched multiple times. In the same article quoted above was this statement from Paul's mom, quote, PJ is not in those woods and he's not in the water, said Steverson's mother, Linda. Quote, where is he? He's out there somewhere, end quote. Read Linda's statement again. All right, I will. Quote, PJ is not in those woods and he's not in the water. Where is he? He's out there somewhere, end quote. She was positive that he wasn't in the swamp and not in the woods.
Now, what would make someone
intuition?
so positive?
Yeah.
I would think because they checked it. And they probably were extremely thorough checking it.
Mother's intuition, perhaps. Who knows? The months following PJ's disappearance had the normal variety, of sightings reported by various witnesses who'd seen a photo in the newspapers. None of the reports were validated. In April 1996, another canine was asked to circle the pond in an effort to find a scent of decomposition. The dog supposedly showed interest in the water. The police asked for a helicopter to fly over the pond to see if anything was visible. They did see a body that was partially in the water. The body was recovered and it was PJ. The medical examiner's office stated he died of hypothermia. He didn't drown, yet he was in the middle of the swamp. I could not find an article that stated toxicology results. PJ was listed as a freshman at New England College. He was a varsity athlete in phenomenal shape. Nobody stated that he was staggering away from the party. Some people did state that he was drunk. In many of these stories I have researched, I have a very difficult time believing that each and every student I've chronicled walks directly into the water and immediately dies. Imagine the shock to your system if you walked into a freezing pond. Wouldn't that wake you up from any stupor you may be in? If you were walking into a pond, wouldn't you get your ankles and knees wet and say to yourself, time to leave? Note how many ponds, rivers, and lakes seem to be magnets for these young men.
Now, I want to bring that up.
Please.
His point with, wouldn't that wake you up from it? So what happens when you get drunk? Multiple things happen. But in terms of like the cold, yes, if you're just kind of drunk, regular drunk, let's say, your body's hot. Like, when you drink, you start feeling really hot.
Sure.
To go into cold water, if you're walking in, yeah, you're going to be like, oh, that's cold, and you're going to get out. Now, depending on the temperature of the water and the temperature of the air outside, that could trigger hypothermia, depending on like how long it took for you to be like, oh crap, that's cold, and get out.
Right.
But the odds are he'd probably, if he was capable enough to walk back the way he came, get to where he needed to go. However, you can be so drunk, or you can be on certain drugs that you don't feel anything. So if he was extremely drunk, or maybe was on something that affected his senses, it's very possible he could have gone waist deep into the swamp, not realizing what was going on because he doesn't feel anything. Maybe he thinks he's swimming around, who knows? Gets hypothermia and dies. So I think that that is a possible scenario that could have happened there.
This also kind of, again, it kind of fits the MO of the smiley face killers too. Because again, young college age male, excuse me. Well, I guess man, drunk by himself, wanders off, ends up being found in a body of water. So again, the other thing, and I'm sorry, I know you're about to make a point, but I just, if you don't mind, I want to get this out quick. Paulides said that he couldn't find any articles that had toxicology results. Now, that's an important thing to note about a lot of these missing 411 cases. He gets most of his information from public resources. So it's usually newspaper articles, because it's not like the guy's going to go to every local police department in the country when he's compiling these cases. He's looking through newspaper articles online, libraries, Freedom of Information Act requests, and that kind of thing. So you have to wonder how complete is the information that he can get on a lot of these cases. So he does the most complete job that he can. But again, when we're talking about some of these cases that we choose, or any case in the book for that matter, you have to remember that he only can get so much information. So there may be details that would maybe give a better idea of what happened, or could give a little bit more to go on, but they're just not available for public consumption.
Very true. Now, the odd thing about that is they checked the water. Mom was certain he was not in the water and he was not in those woods.
Yeah.
And yet there he is found. Now we can argue they checked the water. I don't know how big the swamp is. I mean, depending on the size of the swamp, is it like wetlands and acres, or is it just like a kind of marshy pond area? I don't know. They don't go into detail about the swamp. So it's just weird though that Mom was convinced he was not in those woods and he was not there. So it makes you wonder, is it a missing 411 where maybe all of a sudden like people just appear? The place has been searched. They use dogs, they use search teams. They're not there. And then all of a sudden at some point later, they show up. And I think that is why that's one of the things that made it, aside from being in water.
Yeah. The other thing too, and again, because these two cases that, and by the way, you picked these out, I did not, but it's just funny that these two that you picked out, and I didn't read them beforehand, they do fit the MO of the smiley face killers. In the smiley face cases, the gentlemen were also found to not have been drowned. In a lot of the cases, they looked like they maybe had been bound or kept somewhere and dumped later in a spot near where they went missing. So it's just kind of, yeah. I mean, again, I don't know if there's obviously nothing written in this book, and we haven't researched these cases independently on our own. We just go by what we're reading here, but it just really makes me wonder, are these connected in some way? Could it be this cult or a serial killer or group of killers that's going out and doing this kind of stuff? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just very, very weird that those two cases are what you picked, and those really fit that MO.
Yeah, it was weird.
So,
and I try to like look at it from a logical standpoint. And that's why I'm not trying to like say that it's not a missing 411 case. I'm just trying to throw out like the reality of things.
yeah.
Like I said, like you can get drunk and get turned around with somebody just giving you directions. It's possible depending on how drunk you are.
Yeah, of course.
And not to mention that, but how tired are you? There's a lot of factors that come into play with
Of
keeping your
course.
mind sharp. And then that other case, it was just weird because they searched and,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wasn't there. Mom was convinced he's not there. And then they find him there.
Yeah. I think the thing too that we have to mention is these cases, Paulides started doing these because of missing people that went missing in national forests.
Mhm.
And he's kind of expanded now into everywhere,
Yeah. Oh,
getting and collecting cases that meet this criteria of missing
the
411.
cluster map.
One of the cluster maps.
There
Sure.
we
He's
go.
got several different cluster maps.
Yeah, but just kind of pointing out
But
because we mentioned
but
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
He
Yeah.
has them in his books. Here it's on the back.
Yeah.
So this
So,
one is from Massachusetts.
oh,
This is
close.
about, Fred Grosfeld, missing November 30th, 1965, from Boston, Mass. Age at disappearance, 19 years. This is one of the earlier cases in the book. You will find that the circumstances of the victim being found were highly unusual. Fred Grosfeld, let me try that again. Fred Grosfeld was raised in Connecticut. His dad owned a haberdashery in Ridgefield.
What's a haberdashery?
I want to say it's like not a pawn shop, but it's like not junk, but like
Is that what it is? Okay.
it's like
I I swear I think I used to know what it was, but I haven't heard that word in so long.
yeah.
Like, wait, what's
And
haberdashery?
I don't know,
again?
like antique. I don't know, but yeah, it's a shop. Father and son had a tight bond, and the family was very proud of Fred. After high school, he was accepted to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, also known as MIT, where he studied mathematics. The school has an address in Cambridge, but is located just on the western side of Boston, directly on the Charles River. Love that dirty water. Not really. The school is known as a haven for brilliant minds. On November 30th, 1965, Fred, a sophomore, was playing bridge with friends until late in the evening when he told his friends that he was walking back to his dormitory. This was the last time that anyone saw the student alive. The search started almost immediately. There were almost no new leads developed for months. On January 29th, 1966, Israel Grosfeld, Fred's father, closed his store and told the press that he was spending the remainder of his life in search of his son. He stated that it was the most important thing in his family's life. Israel actually traveled to Washington, D.C. and enlisted the investigative help of the FBI. This has to be one of the earliest cases of its type that the FBI has in its files. Israel told the press that his son would never run off or disappear voluntarily. There was a major search effort to locate Fred. There were many rumors, from suicide to kidnapping to a general belief that foul play was at work. There were no clues until the morning of February 8th, 1966. An article in the Telegraph on February 9th, 1966 had these details. Quote, police said a woman walking her dog along the Charles Esplanade on the Boston side of the river reported finding the body after her dog noticed hair sticking out of the ice and began barking, end quote. Earlier in the same article were these details. Quote, the body of Massachusetts Institute of Technology student Fred Grosfeld, 19, who disappeared from his dormitory November 30th, has been found frozen in an upright position in the ice of the Charles River across from the MIT campus, end quote. It was reported that 4 police officers had to chip the ice from the body. It was located 15 feet from the Boston Bank near Dartmouth Street. The medical examiner performed an autopsy. A February 10th, 1966 article in the Morning Record had details. Quote, a medical examiner said Wednesday that Fred Grosfeld, a Massachusetts Institute of Technology student, was a drowning victim. However, Dr. Michael Longo said he hadn't determined what caused the 19-year-old Ridgefield, Connecticut sophomore to drown, end quote. It was the opinion that Fred had died on or around November 30th. Fred's dad was on his 5th trip searching for his son when the body was found. he positively identified the body at the mortuary. The police made statements that the Charles River froze solid on November 30th. It is very uncommon for a body to be frozen in an upright profile sticking out of the water. The medical examiner made no mention of lividity or rigor. They did state that the body had to sit out in their office for a while as it thawed. Fred was missing for 70 days. He still had hair on his head. While this may be attributed to the freezing conditions, it wouldn't be considered normal. The real question wasn't addressed by the medical examiner. How did Fred end up in the water as he was walking back to his dormitory? He had made that trip hundreds and maybe thousands of times. He knew the route well. That's a messed up story.
Yeah. Yeah. When you read the part about the father having to positively identify the body, I was just like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine ever having to be in that kind of a position. I hope I never have to be. That's just awful. Couldn't even imagine.
It's weird. First of all, he's playing bridge. He sounds like a smart kid, but it said nothing of drinking.
Right. Yeah, you're correct. Now, and it didn't have autopsy results, correct?
Well, no, because what was weird, he hadn't determined the cause.
So it makes me wonder. Something like that, I would think if there was no drinking involved, did somebody kind of maybe like slip the kid something in his water or something? You know what I mean? Or like, who knows?
But if he was with friends, like,
it doesn't matter.
I know, but I'm just saying what's weird though. And then he was found in the upright position.
The upright position meaning like he was standing?
Yeah. He was upright. Usually when you're
wasn't laying flat.
You're not flat, like face up, face down.
So like
he wasn't like in a supine position. He was vertical.
How was that done? Like he did like a pencil into the water and just stayed there?
I don't know. That's weird. And not just that, but like
very strange.
He was sticking out of it.
Yeah.
But okay, so it was almost okay. This is what I'm trying to comprehend. You have a river, and parts of river can freeze.
Sure.
But there's usually water moving underneath.
Yes.
But was it already frozen? Because they said they thought it froze that night. But was it like he went in and it froze with him in it? Or was it like it was frozen and maybe he fell in and got stuck? It's just really weird. He was upright.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
And like all of the hair was there. And yes, if it's really cold, it can preserve you, but it's very
70 days though. That's a long time, even in cold water. But
it's like what, 2.5 months?
It's 2.5 months. And I mean, honestly, well, I mean, I don't know what the weather was like back then, but I mean, just knowing how winters are now, granted, it's been a long time, so who knows? But I mean, temperatures fluctuate enough where you would think.
But how would nobody else notice somebody sticking out of the river?
Yeah, that's the part
that's the other thing.
Makes you think that he was dumped there. You know, he was placed there, and
yeah,
was he like stored in a freezer somewhere or something, and then placed there?
Maybe because it was like he was there and nobody noticed.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
especially like a route like that where people, walk all the time. And
yeah, it was bizarre. It was
so
like that one. I was just like, what?
Yeah, that is peculiar. Now, again, like I said, you just wish you could get like those toxicology results and stuff like that.
Not just that, but like the autopsy
were they even running those type of tests back then?
I don't know.
Were they as detailed as they are now? Obviously, probably not.
But they could do an autopsy. Did he drown? Was it hypothermia? Like what?
Yeah. What was the cause of death?
It doesn't say.
That's what I mean. It's just weird. That's bizarre.
It's like these stories are absolutely heartbreaking, but it's also like it makes you think, could there be something else going on? Especially like like whether, the whole smiley face killer.
This is another one that fits that MO. That's another one that fits that MO, except that he wasn't drinking. That's the only part, because it seems like all the smiley face ones, they all kind of fall into that category.
But this was also in the 60s.
Yeah. I found out what a haberdashery is.
Yes.
It's a retail dealer specializing in men's furnishings, such as shirts, ties, gloves, socks, and hats.
Okay, so I was kind of right. It's the store. I just,
There you have it.
yeah,
I had to look it up.
there we go. All right, we got one more, and this is North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check this place out here in North Carolina. We're going to be talking about Jesse Maness. He went missing October 13th between 12 and 2:30 a.m. in Silver City, North Carolina. He was 24 years old at the age of disappearance. Wow. Okay. Over the years, I've read every theory proposed by various authorities to justify the strange circumstances explained in my books. This is one of the most original theories I've ever heard. Oh, all right, here we go. Jesse Maness lived on Jimmy Cox Road outside of Bennett. He was a 2006 graduate of Chatham Central High School and later attended Sand Hills Community College. He enjoyed basketball and fishing. He regularly attended Pleasant Grove Christian Church. He worked in inventory management for Accutite Fasteners in Winston-Salem. Jesse was out drinking with friends in the early morning hours of October 13th, 2012. He was last seen alive at 2 o'clock a.m. while sitting in his car in the parking lot of Compadre's restaurant at 115 Siler Crossing in Siler City. Friends stated that he was talking on his cell phone when they left. Nobody heard from Jesse in the following days, and he was reported as a missing person. The Maness family and friends performed a massive search of the area where he lived, the place he was last seen, and all places in between. It's a straight 9-mile drive south on Siler City Glendon Road and then a few miles west to his residence. Searches scoured all probable areas, starting the Sunday he was first missing. On October 19th, Jesse's vehicle was found overturned in a creek along Buffalo Street in Bennett, west of his home. A February 26, 2014 article on Examiner.com had this statement from Jesse's mom, quote, "But Kathy Gaines doesn't believe it. She says that the area where her son was ultimately found was searched several times while he was missing, and his car and remains showed up well after his disappearance. Additionally, the clothes he was wearing when found were not what he had on when he was last seen. Quote, I feel like he was home and dressed for bed and something happened, end quote." Huh. All right. That's very interesting. The quote from the article, the newspaper article ends. Jesse's 1995 red Chevrolet Corsica was found in a shallow creek. He was found without his pants and shoes and with only one sock. The coroner's report stated that he drowned. They also found a fracture in one hip and in the seventh rib, and bruises on both arms and the left leg and groin. Toxicology testing showed he had a blood alcohol level of 0.08%, and he had caffeine and nicotine in his system. His new Nike tennis shoes were found inside the vehicle. According to various articles, Kathy Gaines believes her son's case has been mishandled by law enforcement. She doesn't believe that her son's car was in the creek for the entire time he was missing. Law enforcement claims that Jesse lost control of his car and drove it off the roadway and into the shallow creek. Jesse's injuries don't constitute a death sentence. He easily could have held his head above water or, even better, crawled to the bank to rest. He didn't die of hypothermia. That was never mentioned. Law enforcement theorized that he crawled out of the car pulling his pants off. Really? I guess that also pulled off a sock and both shoes? This case really makes zero sense. Kathy Gaines is upset that law enforcement isn't doing more on the case. I understand that. Maybe if she reads the cases in this book, it will give her more ammunition to go back and fight for a more comprehensive investigation. I do think it's interesting that Kathy believes that Jesse went home and something caused him to leave after changing into a attire that he'd be wearing to bed. I think that's an important point to keep in mind. If Jesse and his car weren't in the creek when it was searched multiple times, where was the man and his vehicle? The number of times that searchers have stated that the body wasn't in the area when they searched it and it was now is mind-boggling. What?
Yeah.
That's a new one.
It makes no sense. They searched the area and he wasn't there. Then all of a sudden his car is in a creek.
Yeah, how do you miss a car?
Right? and he's not wearing what he was last seen wearing, and his shoes are off, and he's missing a sock. Like particles
And
of
his pants are off.
yeah,
Like,
his
what?
pants are off, like articles of clothes are missing, and he's beat up. That doesn't sound like going in the creek. And the way they explained it, like, doesn't necessarily. No, I didn't see the wreckage, but it's just kind of weird what they're saying his injuries are versus what happened. And it's a shallow creek.
Yeah. This one doesn't add up at
It
all.
doesn't make any sense.
I could see where she'd be mad at law enforcement. I could totally see that. I can see her having an axe to grind there and maybe pointing some fingers and making some accusations. Who knows? Well, yeah, I don't know.
I'd be down there every day.
I don't know. This one's rough. I mean, I would say, I don't know. Anything you say is speculation, but it can't be what they say it is, because that just doesn't make any logical sense.
It almost sounds like they just didn't want to deal with it.
Or they knew what happened and they didn't want to go down that road.
Or that.
That could be a cover up of
that was
some
what
kind.
I was going to say next. Or they knew.
You can't rule that stuff out, because that kind of corruption and those kind of things happen, sadly.
And it's
often,
like,
and
it
it's
makes
too
you
bad.
wonder, did like what if he went home and changed, like what got him to leave? Like why were parts of his clothes off? Like,
Right.
I'm sorry, but getting out of the car is going to pull your pants off and a sock and your shoes and put them back in the car.
Doubtful. Yeah. What? Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Even if you think of it, like if he's in the creek and thinks, oh, my new shoes, I don't want to get them ruined, let me throw them in the back seat.
Your car just went into a creek.
Yeah,
you really going to be thinking about that at the time?
I don't know.
Oh, damn. I don't want to mess up my shoes.
Oh, these pants are too nice to get dirty.
Never
Let
mind
me take
my
them
car
off.
that I just, drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I need both these socks. Maybe just one.
Right. Yeah.
It makes no sense.
That's a wow. Yeah, that's a new one with the car too being right there. Wow.
What did they say it was red too? The red Corsica?
Corsica. Forgive me. I'm gonna have to look. Do you have that page? That page? Sorry, everybody. I closed the book. Lost Our Place.
Red. Yeah, red.
Yeah, red.
You're gonna miss a red car in a creek when you search the area. I could get, maybe if it was like camouflage, maybe like green or brown
like
or
a camo
something.
paint job on the car.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe, but like a red car.
Yeah. So this one, something fishy happened here. Something fishy. I don't know if it'd be missing 411 or if it's some kind of a cover up of some kind.
Like, I wonder, like, did somebody like beat the crap out of the guy and like take his car?
But where was he? You know what I mean? Like, how many days was he missing for?
I forget.
This is why I got to keep the book open.
Just leave the book open.
I'm just going to leave it open from here. We are. Okay. So he went missing on October 13th. And he was found.
So right here.
Yeah. He was found missing October 13th.
October 19th.
October 19th. So yeah,
almost a week later.
Where was his car for that whole week? And yeah, so what, you think somebody stole him and his car?
Well, no, I'm saying, well, if, like, let's say he pissed somebody off, if they like grab him or he gets lured out for some reason and they beat the crap out of him and they like, he has his car. So then they say, oh, well, now we get to dump the car
with him.
Yeah.
in it kind
Yeah.
of
So that can make sense because he has like bruised ribs, bruised groin. He's beat up.
Yeah.
So why not dump the car in a creek and make it look like an accident?
I guess could be. Yeah. Maybe let's get.
Were his pants in the car or were they just gone?
I'm scanning it real quick again.
Because I'm wondering if the pants were gone and the socks were gone, maybe if like he got blood on it.
It just says that he was found without his pants and shoes and with only one sock. Coroner's report stated that he drowned.
Maybe like, so I'm just thinking if
Fracture in one hip
somebody,
and in the seventh rib, bruise on both arms, left leg and groin. The toxicology tests. His new Nike tennis shoes were found inside the vehicle. So his shoes were in the car.
but like,
It
but
doesn't say where the pants and
if
the
let's say
socks
somebody
were.
like kidnapped him and like beat the crap out of him, maybe like they burned the clothes because there was this blood on it and they thought, well, we don't want blood because that might not look like an accident. I'm just speculating. I'm just trying to think of other scenarios.
It's as plausible theory as anything else, I guess. I mean, who
But
knows?
it doesn't make sense.
But it doesn't say anywhere here, excuse me, where the pants are. It
Yeah.
just said Paulides just says
It's missing.
he pulled his pants off while he was crawling out of the car. Really? So
So
I don't-
I
I-
would say, like,
I
could
don't know
it be
if
a
the pants were
missing
found or not.
411? Absolutely. Or it could be foul play and somebody did that to him. Either way, it's
Yeah.
messed up.
Either way, yeah. But I mean, if it is a missing 411 case, I mean, I guess it kind of fits the criteria of everything.
No, I
right?
mean, it does. There's
But
body of water.
well, we've got a car now. This is what's throwing the car is what's throwing me off. Was his car ever looked for? Was ever like a what do they call it, an APB put out
Yeah, like,
on
did
his
they ever
car?
look for it?
Was that ever searched for? Obviously, again, we're running off of like a page or two of information that's in a book. So who knows?
These are the
what's out there.
questions we ask to try to figure it out.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think what you're saying, foul play, that sounds more plausible,
Yeah.
I guess. But just the fact that the car,
It sounds,
it's
I
the
mean,
car is throwing me off. Like, how do you miss a car? It wasn't. It obviously was not where. It wasn't there when when they were searching that area. If you have several people saying I wasn't there, so what? And again, how would you miss that? So it was either foul play, it was dumped there. But why don't we get a little? What if it was some like kind of a maybe he drove into like a weird portal or something? And,
well, okay,
like,
so
was
kinda,
gone and then
yeah.
just came back, and that's where he ended up. You know what I mean? God, geez, I don't know.
But we've talked about with
know.
missing 411, why are clothes missing? Now, I already gave a plausible reason for what could have happened, but traveling down the avenue of the unplausible, so to speak.
The more fantastical theories here.
Well, I mean, you just never know because things like go missing and then they show up. We talked about it a while back. This one guy was traveling and he went missing, and then randomly, like, his backpack full of supplies showed up on somebody's property.
Yeah.
Randomly months later, but he was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
How does this stuff happen? Things just magically appear and disappear.
Is there some kind of a portal? Is there some kind of a vortex or something that opens up? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, what? That's the thing with there's so much that we do not know, and we just have no idea the world that we live in. I really feel that.
Oh, I
like,
agree.
more and more every day.
But think of it on a small scale. Ever like misplace something? You know, you put something somewhere and then it goes
Everybody's done that.
missing.
Everybody's gone through
I
that,
know.
of
And it
course.
goes missing. And you're like, I know I left it here. And then all of a sudden it shows up somewhere totally random. And it makes you like question yourself. And you think, I guess I put it there, even though there's no reason why you would put something there. Now I've put in some things, like I've accidentally put the remote control in the fridge when I was younger because like your mind,
stuff like
your signals get crossed. Like you go to put something else in the fridge and you leave the milk on the counter or something and the remote goes in the
what
fridge.
happens when you multitask. Your brain's not designed to do
And
that.
that's what we write things off
Yeah.
as,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
We must not have been paying attention. And like when you do something so many times, you forget if you did it, like locking the door. It's such a habit to lock your door when you leave the house, but you do it so often. I've driven down the street and said, did I lock it? I don't remember, because we go almost in a state of hypnosis. You're just going through the motions, doing what you do all the time. You don't pay attention to it.
Unfortunately, that's how like you hear horror stories of parents locking their kids in the car because they just forget that they have their kid with them, and they go to the grocery store or something. They
And you
forget.
forget.
heaven forbid that ever happened to us. But
Don't even get
no,
me
no, I
going on
know.
that, because
I'm
that,
saying like
always
those
check
kind of
your back
things.
seat before you leave.
Of
Because even with
course.
pets, or if you end up babysitting, just make a habit. Always check your back seat before
Yeah.
you leave your car.
Of course. Yeah. But that's the thing. That's what I
Little
mean.
PSA
Like,
for you.
yeah. But that's the thing. Like, you hear of these things and you wonder, how can that happen? How can somebody let that happen? That's how it can happen.
But
You are, like you said, almost like in a state of hypnosis. You just kind of go through the motions. You forget sometimes. You're just on autopilot
and that
sometimes.
happens.
Yeah.
But what if it's a mix of, yeah, you're not paying attention, and you weren't paying attention to what you were doing? What if it's a mix of, maybe there is a portal somewhere? What if, those keys that you put on the key hook every single time you get home, you walk through the door, you unlock it and hang it right on the key hook, and then they're randomly in your bedroom? Now you could say, I guess I brought them up there and they got under my bed. Or is there something on a smaller scale that happens? And then every once in a while, it happens on a larger scale. I don't know. I'm just throwing this stuff out there just so we can think about it.
I think those are great things to think about, because yeah, who knows? Going back to, remember the show Hellier that
Yes.
we watched, and when they were talking to Nathan Isaacs, I believe, the gentleman in Somerset, Kentucky, when he was relaying the story about his wife who came out of the bathroom one day and the wall was like, the thermostat on the wall was kind of shifting and like real time, just kind of moving back and forth on her wall. And then all of a sudden it just stopped and went back to its normal position. And that it happened to her multiple times, like months apart, just randomly. And she thought she was going crazy. And then he started, researching the area and found out they have like they sit on the largest deposit of quartz in the United States. And they have all kinds of weird magnetic things happen there. All kinds of weird stuff goes on in that city. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
You
just never know. We always, I think people in general try to write these things off because they are too fantastic, so to speak, thinking about the possibilities of what they are.
And I think also too, it's just, we tend to, you either ignore what you don't understand, you ridicule what you don't understand, or you tend to try to investigate and try to figure out what you don't understand.
But it's about
and unfortunately,
balance.
Most people tend to write it off.
Yeah.
Or ignore it.
But in terms of investigating, it's always like this 100%, or it's not this 100%.
Right.
There has to be balance. And the way I'm thinking and, trying to look at it is, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like maybe half the stuff really is just us not paying attention, but then maybe the other half, that balance, is things happening and it just gets written off. Or people just try to jump, this is it, this is what's causing everything. And it's not. And maybe that's why it's so difficult, is because it's not always this and it's not always that.
Sure.
It's just, there's a balance of it, and we just don't know how it all works yet.
Yeah. That's I don't know. This is a weird one though with the car. That's the first time I've. Yeah,
how do you miss a car?
Yeah, you don't. You don't miss the car, and multiple people who say that the car was not there, and then that's where it was found. It's very, very.
Either people
suspect.
weren't doing their job searching, saying they did. I swear it wasn't there.
I mean, you can't write that off as a possibility either. You can't write what you just said. You can't write that off. There are, I mean, sad to say, but people are fallible. And if they're, you never know if somebody's assigned to go to a certain, because they search in grid patterns, right? I believe that's how that's
I think
done.
It depends on what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't write off the fact that human error or human lie, you have a couple of people that say, I looked there, there was nothing there. How come it's there now? What? That doesn't make sense. And they maybe really didn't look there. They took a coffee break when they should have been searching that area.
I like to look at all the possibilities. That's all. I like,
and we should, and everybody
I like to
should.
Look at everything. Yeah.
You should look at all the possibilities.
I like to look at all the possibilities, think of all the options, and not just rule things out because they seem impossible, but not say like, oh, but it's got to be this either, because like I said, I think people get either so in denial of something that it could be that they don't want to fathom it because they can't comprehend it. But then you have the opposite people where it's always this and everything is this.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. So I said, like,
Truth
you
is
just gotta
usually
find
somewhere in the
balance.
middle.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Find the
Usually
balance.
somewhere in the middle.
But
Wow. Well, that was yeah, it's a good one to end on, I guess. That's a good peek
something to think
to
about.
kind
There's so many good stories in this book. I want to do some more on that.
of I wouldn't call them good. They're
Okay,
just because of the
intriguing.
outcomes. You know what I mean? Like it's never good to read about people that go missing and end up being found dead.
Intriguing stories.
Yeah, I just they are fascinating to read and to just make you think and go,
Yeah.
what's going on? What happened to this person? What happened to that person? You know, what caused this? Why? What's going
How
on
can
here?
we
What's
prevent
happening?
this?
Yeah, I mean
That's like the biggest thing is like how to protect yourself and your families and other people so nobody ever has to go through, you know, what these people's families have gone through and what these people have gone through. It's like you don't want that for anyone.
No, of course not. Of course not. That's just really, yeah. So missing 411. That's there you have it.
Yeah.
So on that note,
let us know what you think. You can find us on Twitter. We already gave the info at Homewrecker Pod and homewreckerpodcast.com. But
that's it.
yeah, like tweet us. You can write like on YouTube or wherever you want to leave comments and let us know what you think. And, you know, if there's another story from this book that's really intriguing, something you want us to go over,
in a future
let us
episode,
know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, all right. Well, now I'm going to have a hard time falling asleep tonight because I'm thinking about these cases. Crazy. Well, all right then. Until next time, unless you have anything else you'd like to add, my lady. You've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast, and I am the Golden Greek. Not so grumpy anymore.
You just blew my spot.
What?
You've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast.
Whoops.
You didn't even notice you did it, did you?
Whoops.
You weren't paying attention. Your mind maybe was not paying attention.
Kind of going into autopilot there a little bit, maybe.
There you go. Yeah, it happens. Or did we go through a portal? I'm just messing with you.
What?
I'm joking because I said, or did we go through a portal? Because of what I was
Craziness happening here.
Trying to see if you're paying attention.
Until next time, I am the Grumpy Greek, Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, the lovely Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast.
So that's how you end it, like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blowing my spot.
Terrible person I am. Good grief. Will you ever find it in your heart to forgive me?
I guess so.
All right. Thank you. Oh, goodness.